Hello, and welcome to today's 30-minute masterclass. The topic? It's time to get off the hamster wheel. Good morning, my name is Barbara Jemmett, and I'm going to be your host today for our 30-minute masterclass as usual. I am a business strategist. I'm the founder of Y.E.S, or Y.E.S, which stands for Your Entrepreneurial Spirit. I help women entrepreneurs like you connect with your customers and grow your bottom line, both online and offline. I am so excited to bring you this topic today. It's about, getting more done in your day, and we know how that works. Now, some people don't seem to find that overly, interesting, but to me, it's just like, if I can get back an hour a day, I'm just happy. So a little bit of housekeeping here. We are going to stick to a 30-minute schedule as we always do. I hope that you're ready with a pen and paper. And just a quick reminder that you should have downloaded your handout already, or if not, you can go ahead and do that now. We always start with 3 main segments, and we're going to continue with that. So here we go for today. I always like to start off with an opening quote, and this one to me is quite relevant to the topic. So it reads, "The time is at once the most valuable and the most perishable of all our possessions." And that's from John Randolph. And basically that's how we're going to approach the rest of this session today. Before we get started though, just a few words from some of the testimonials that I've received, either for my own services or from some of the services from Your Entrepreneurial Spirit. So here's one from Angela. She says, "Working with Barb and the offerings is magical. Business obstacles crumble away and light bulbs go off. The direct, real-world approach cuts through the fluff and gets me back to reality soon." And James B. also has something nice to say, and I thank James for this one as well. On this particular item, there's a number of approaches to time management, of which he's tried a few, and this approach made sense to him. He learned techniques that he's comfortable with and find it easy to stick with, which is 90% of the battle there, I think. So what's this all about? It is about, what does your day look like? It's about where your frustrations might be. It's about what happens when you work for yourself. And it pretty much starts with this question. Put yourself here. Do you ever find yourself at the end of the day wondering exactly what you've accomplished? Is this something that happens to you consistently? If the answer is yes, you're not alone. Please know that. Small business owners, solo entrepreneurs, freelancers, and others who are self-employed all struggle with this feeling all the time. It seems like it's a huge feat to be able to actually get something done in your day and feel productive. There's never enough time. For most of us, it just feels like if we could just have another 2 hours in the day, we would be able to win. But clearly that's not going to happen. The reality is, though, that you have all the time you need to get everything done. It's just being taken up by stuff, the non-essential tasks that are burdening you and getting in the way of what's really important to getting your day done. When you're spinning your wheels like this, even your best efforts don't get you any closer to your goals. You're running on a treadmill, or a hamster wheel, if you will. No matter how hard you push yourself, you're never going to get anywhere doing this. It's even worse if you work for yourself. You especially can't afford to throw away precious time in your day. So rather than trying to find more time, you need to better manage the time you already have. So that brings us to the purpose of today, and it's to talk about the 3P strategy, which is prioritize, plan, and produce. So let's jump right into the first step in this 3-step process, and that is to prioritize. We're going to look at prioritizing right now. No, we're not going to put it off until tomorrow. We're not going to do any of that. We are going to jump in and we're going to say that this is the number one way to boost your productivity, by prioritizing. We all know that, and everybody has a to-do list. God knows we've got enough of those. But is it really enough? I'm going to say no. You know why? Because you need to figure out which items on that list are essential and which ones aren't important at all. And we really do have a hard time distinguishing one from the other. So start by making a list of everything you have to do today. Don't worry about prioritizing it at this point. Just write it all down on paper, get everything done. How many items do you have on that list? If I asked you to do that exercise, and I'll put this aside for a moment because I know you didn't have time to do it, but once you've created that list of everything you have to do today, I want you to take a look at it and see how many items are on it. If it's more than 7 or 8, you need to trim your list. You really do. Take out any tasks that you perform every day. So those would be things like email. Those would be things like phone calls. So anything that is absolutely necessary, it is just breathing in and out of your day, take that off the list. And then ask yourself, if you only had the time to do one thing today, what would it be? And then make sure that item goes to the top of the list. So this is what I want you to think of again. This is a reminder. The way you prioritize right now, is it working for you? Are you looking at what's essential and not what's not important? And again, I remind you, start with a list of everything you have to do today. So management is the key item here. You're going to start with your list and you're going to look at essential items. Is your list focused? And does it have everything on it? So once you've done that, if you've got more than 7 or 8 items, is that a real list? Are those items real? If you've only got one thing to do today, again, I remind you, what would that be? And place it at the top of the list. If you need tips for refining your to-do list, you need to start ranking items. Create a scorecard or something for them and start with number 1 priority needs to be done today. Number 2 should be done today. And number 3 doesn't need to be done today. Now, once you got that, set deadlines for absolutely everything. Even those things that don't really have a time pressure to them, make sure that you set a deadline for them anyway. And make your deadline specific to dates, or to a specific day, I should say, and a time in that day. And then all you need to do is categorize, and we'll talk about that in just a moment. Categorizing either by work-related or personal tasks. So keep these 2 items separate. During the work process, you're in that zone. Once you've closed that door, hopefully, you turn to the personal side and you work on that list. So those are 2 ways that you can personalize or categorize that way. And the other way that you can do it is to categorize by time. If there are specific tasks that need to be done in the mornings, whatever, do them then. Make sure that you have blocked off that time in your calendar to do it. If there are items that need to fit into that category, you can make a mini list for that. So just keep that there. So keep your business and your personal ones separated out as much as you can. Place it all on the calendar and categorize it appropriately. The next thing you need to do is break up your big tasks. Now, these are big tasks that anything that takes longer than a day to get done, you need to break it down into its milestones and add those to your to-do list in the specific areas. So don't let it get away from you. You need to be in the habit or break the habit that you can get everything done today. It's not going to happen. You're going to have to be real about what it is you're attempting to do, but be ruthless in throwing out tasks that aren't essential to you as well. If you do that, these are some of the items, those things that are not essential to you right now, you can put them on the back burner. And what do you do with those back burner items? Well, possibly you can delete them or throw them out. I'm just saying it. Or you can possibly try I don't know, things like having a specific day where you address all of these things. Or perhaps you will do them because you've managed your day so well. You have time at the end of the day where you can actually fill in or knock off some of these items off the list. But when all is said and done, we are looking for simplicity. So we're not going to overcomplicate this. You're going to work for 3 to 5 tasks a day on your list. These are big tasks. Again, make sure your list is all inclusive and the way that you're going to address them. And for those things that go on the back burner or something like that, choose a day and a time. I'm going to address this thing between 10 and 12 on Thursday, and I'm going to get all of that done. Well, yes, you are. The other thing you could do is possibly delegate those items to somebody else. Or another item you could do is create a secondary list, as I said. These are your non-essentials. You're going to find a time. You're going to actually schedule a time to do those things. They are not just going to stay on the list forever. I think we've all been guilty of doing that at one time or another. So here's a review of prioritizing. The idea is to start today. Make sure that pen and paper is in hand. Sit down and do this task. You're going to then review the list again and check out how many items are on it. Then you're going to rank those items in order of importance. And then you're going to categorize between business and personal, or morning tasks or afternoon tasks, something like that. Anything that's longer than a day, you're going to break it down. And for your back burner things of that nature, you're going to choose a day and a time in that day to tackle those items and get them done. So, good on you. This is the first step. And here's a reminder. Until we manage our time, we can manage nothing else. And that's from the good man, Peter Drucker. So I know we sit around and then we wonder where the time has gone, but it is because we choose not to manage it as well as we might. So that's just a reminder for you. Now we're here to step 2 of the 3-step process. And this is about planning. Because what we have now is we have our prioritized to-do list, if you went through the exercise just now. And so now then we are ready to go. We are going to say that we have these articles on our list, and we are going to look at these particular concepts. And this is working with a time box. Now, time is actually a flexible resource that expands or contracts based on the time limits that you put around it. So if your first task eats up more of your time than you thought it would, what's going to happen there? So just be aware that everything always takes longer than you think, and plan a box of time for each task. Once you've reached the end of that box, it's time to make a decision on whether or not you're going to continue by expanding the time limit, or you're going to put off finishing it until another time, possibly tomorrow. For a quick example, you're working on writing copy for your landing page, your upcoming landing page. So you set aside 2 hours to do it in the morning. At the end of that 2 hours, you're not quite done. So you've gotten yourself stuck in the details, that's me, or refining the wording, and it's going to take at least another hour. Now, looking back at your list, you might decide that finishing your copy is the first priority for tomorrow morning, because in the mornings you focus better with renewed energy. And then you put that aside for tomorrow on your list, and you continue with the next item on your today list. The next item to me is quite interesting, and it is working within your natural rhythms. Now, each of us has time during the day where we're most productive, as we know that. But we also have times where we are best at problem solving or communicating. And we should try to work within those optimal hours in our day. But did you know that for you to be most productive, you have to almost be well aware of your sleep cycle? Your sleep cycle works in 90-minute increments. And through the night, that goes through sleep cycles and then REM cycles, and this continues through the night. But your body also does the same thing during the day. And so if you can come in touch with or become more aware of what your cycles are, you will work to your best advantage. And so maybe when you recognize that, you will stop trying to force a square peg in the round hole with all the dread and the anxiety that brings when you recognize that you're most creative in the morning. And if so, you can skip based on your own rhythms, this is. And if so, then you can schedule this type of work within those time frames, maybe an hour or two before lunch. And then if you're social in the afternoon, I don't know who wouldn't be, but anyway, then you can schedule those items in the afternoon. But what does this mean then? It means that you are working with your own natural rhythms. It means that you recognize when you're most creative and you're just firing on all pins at that time. You know when trying to problem solve in this condition is not going to be helpful to you. It just stresses you out. And you are finally going to work with your own natural rhythms instead of fighting them all the time. So that is something to look into. The suggestion is to work within 90-minute increments to work with your natural rhythm. We do that by looking at beginning with your sleep, as I mentioned. We want to make sure that we understand that for every 4 cycles or stages of non-REM sleep, there's 1 stage of REM sleep. So this means that once you recognize your cycles, you will see that there are times when you can ride the waves of high energy. And by doing this, we won't go into it too much more today, but you can work within these 90-minute sessions and be incredibly successful at getting the job done. So I hope that's intriguing for you. I'd like you to give that some thought. The other thing we have to deal with, of course, are interruptions or interrupts. Thing is, they are interruptions, but you need to plan for them anyway. Allow for the unexpected and pad your to-do list with extra time around them. So these are things. A very good example, a very short one, is travel time. If you're on your way somewhere, or should I say, if you have a meeting, you're going to add travel time before and after the meeting, and you're going to decide whether or not, based on your mode of transportation, if there's anything you can do within that travel time. So maybe if you're on the train, you could return calls or emails. Maybe if you're driving, you absolutely can't. So that time is lost to you. But make sure that you have these times and that you pad around to make sure for things that don't quite go right. You know what I'm talking about. The other thing you need to do is plan to your advantage. Pad your schedule to finish your day sooner. Be ready to work with interruptions by overestimating the length of time assigned to a project or a time block. Add the buffer, as I mentioned, before and after your meeting. That's buffer time. And then also allocating time to catch up as things go awry during the day. So if you think you can schedule an 8-hour day as being a day where you actually do 8 hours of scheduled work, you know that is not possible. If we look at the realities of that, you probably can only schedule maybe 5 hours, and the rest of the time will be taken up by other things. So please be aware of that and plan appropriately. Another thing you can do is learn to batch. This comes under the efficiency heading. Now, if you know that you have a set number of like tasks to do, batch them all together and apply a larger block of time to that list, and then work through them. For example, let's say that you're publishing a weekly newsletter or a podcast. If it's something that takes time to set up, to produce the content each time, well, why don't you just do several weeks or days or episodes at a time and get them done? Schedule admin time in appropriate blocks as well so that you can focus. And if you have large number of client calls you need to make, approach it on a time where you can batch them together and say that Thursdays are my X day times, and this is where I'm going to focus on that task. The last item here is about project management. Now, for you to manage all these things, you're going to need a system to manage tasks that's going to do what you need it to do. And as long as this system works for you, that's fine. It doesn't have to be something formal. It could be pen and paper. It could be, colored stickies. It could be any of the above. But if you're looking for an online project management system, look for a system that has something like interactive calendars where you can schedule easily and customize what needs to be included. Something that can manage multiple projects. Something that has a variety of methods. These could be things like to-do list, time management, and other things that will help you plan. Your time management program, your project management program or system should have built-in tools to help you with tasks, particularly the tasks that you're not great at. You might need more reminders and things about those things. And you're probably going to be looking for something that has a shareability component if you have team members or colleagues that you want to work with. So there's an awful lot of free and premium programs out there. If this is where you want to go, try out the free trials first. But again, go for simplicity where you can. You don't need all the bells and whistles. Don't buy anything more than you need. So here we are on a review of step 2. So this is what we covered, and I'd like you to think about these. Time boxing. Plan a box of time around every task because you are now organized and you're going to get this done. Once you reach the edge of that box, take a look at what's going on and decide what happens next. Work within your natural rhythms, not against them. Remember your sleep cycle, and remember that your day mirrors your sleep cycle. And work where you are strongest, when strongest. We already know this. We know that there are things we can't do when we're tired. So instead of fighting it, work with it. Interrupts. Regardless of what happens, plan for interruptions. Overestimate the length of time things are going to take. Use buffering and have a plan to catch up. Work efficiently. Batch your work where possible and use larger blocks of time. This would be admin tasks or creating several newsletters, blog posts, all of those things. Make this part of your default practice. Project management tools. There are a number of popular systems out there, and here's a list of a few. There's Wrike, Trello, Basecamp, Asana, and Smartsheet. That might help you if you want to take a look at some of those. And the last one I'd like to tell you about here is tomorrow. At the end of each day, take a look at your list and get ready for tomorrow. If there are tasks you didn't get to today, put them on your list for tomorrow and rejig your list for tomorrow. Ideally, you should plan out your entire week in advance, which a lot of us do. It helps you to maximize your time. Then at the end of each day, revisit and refine for the next day, taking into account any adjustments you need to make. So, Mr. Drucker again. I keep reminding you of this because it's very key. Until we manage time, we can manage nothing else. And this brings us to step 3 in our process, produce. Now that we've got everything set up for success, it's time to execute on those things. And it's about the execution that makes it a winner here. The components that you're going to use is you're going to have a calendar with your daily tasks as well as time blocks scheduled. You're going to go through and take care of every task using the buffer and the catch-up times as you need them. By the way, on the buffer time, it's only to be used, as a last resort. Don't waste that time. So just because you have a buffer of 20 minutes doesn't mean you can go get your nails done. Let's just say it what it is. Don't waste time just because you got it marked off on your calendar. The next item you could look at are these. It's time to watch the clock. Keep an eye on the time so that you don't run over your allotments. The best way to do this is to use a timer. You can use an egg timer or the Pomodoro technique, which comes with a tomato timer. But you can also use a timer on your phone. This allows you to focus on the task, and when the alarm goes off, you need to make a change. Before you start a task, though, answer the "is this necessary" question. Is it truly necessary? Is it something that will help you towards your specific goal? Is it something you can delegate to somebody else or automate? Try to eliminate tasks before you start them, especially if it's something that you hadn't already planned to do. And by the way, does this task get you to your goal? Again, does this task get you to your goal? And the next item is to see it through. If you decide to work on a task for 1 hour, stick to it for that 1 hour. Don't stop in the middle or start doing something else. You considered your priorities thoroughly when you made up the schedule, so let's see it through. If you feel a task is wasting time or doesn't need the time allotted, make the necessary adjustment. Arrange your work environment so that there is no distraction. So turn off your phone, turn off your social media. Let's eliminate some of those. Don't be a perfectionist. Sometimes when you focus on getting things done, perfectionism rolls in and it can hold you back. So try to turn off that voice in the back of your head and remember that you can always go back and adjust later. Make use of waiting time. So if you are at the dentist or whatever, what does that mean? Is there something you can do that will help you with your productivity and make you feel better? And the next one is to look for shortcuts. Always be looking for shortcuts, including templates or things of that nature, and allow that to help you to get the job done instead of you always recreating the wheel. The idea is to keep it simple. So the review of step 3, which is work with your calendar, use it to keep track of everything. Is this actually necessary? Make the decision. And then once you have, see it through. Beware of perfectionism and what it can do for you or not do for you. Use waiting time effectively and look for shortcuts where you can. So those are the 3 main steps. And as you get ready to do these steps, you are actually creating a systematic approach to your time management and getting off that hamster wheel. Just as an aside, we have a new course that's coming out dedicated to this particular topic, and it's all about those 3 steps, and it's called Time Management Game Plan for Time Squeeze Business Owners. For more details, please take a look at that link and hop on over and learn all you wish about this particular program. I'm so proud to get it out there to our clients. And here we are with our closing quote. If you want to make good use of your time, you've got to know what's most important and then give it all you've got. And that's from Y.E.S. So if you don't know what's important, you are going to continue to waste your time. So just take a look, prioritize, and work your plan. So We're at the end of our 30-minute masterclass, right on the nose. I thank you for joining us today, and I am your host, Barbara Gemmett. We'll be looking to do another 30-minute masterclass in approximately 2 weeks, so I hope you will join us then. I thank you for your time and attention, and hope you have the rest of a great day. Bye now.